videos. So I'm super excited. Guess there's a silver lining to some things. Anyways, I'm sorry that I disappeared, and it's been very nice to see all of your comments, even when I haven't made videos in a long ass time. So, anyways, I don't want to promise anything, but I'm thinking about starting a series on ethics because that's like probably my favorite area of philosophy. So maybe look forward to that if I actually follow through on it, which I hope that I will because I probably will have time for it now. Anyways, today we're going to be talking about just something that's generally important for philosophy, but we're also going to be tying it into our sort of little series on the philosophy of language, which I've been doing so far. We're going to be talking about just some core ideas, namely analytic versus synthetic, and a priori versus a posteriori claims, which are just core to Western philosophy, and especially if you want to understand someone like Kant, who is pretty important to understand if you are interested in the Western philosophical canon. So anyways, let's get into it. We start out our journey with some background. So, let's start with a priori versus a posteriori. So, a priori things are true without the need for any reference to what you've experienced in life. So, a priori, it's basic. It's connected to the word. It's just Latin, which for some reason philosophers love using Latin terms, which make things inaccessible. But a priori comes from the root of the word prior. So it's prior to experience, before experience. So that's how you can think about it. It's anything that you can know without needing to think about what you've experienced. So something like this would be, or something that a lot of people would agree would be this, is logical truth. So that A equals A, or that if A and B are both true, then A is true. So those are a priori. You just need to address your logical understanding of the world, and you already know that that's true because it's before experience. You have access to logic before you've experienced anything. In contrast, a posteriori things are things that you need to address experience for. So I could say that something a posteriori, and again, posteriori, you can think of post, like posteriori, post experience. You know this. So I could say, I am wearing headphones right now. That's a posteriori true, because I need to look into my experience and see, oh, I am wearing headphones right now. There we go. A posteriori truth. Fun times. And then next, we're going to go to analytic and synthetic. So, analytic truths, at least in a Kantian sense, which is one of the big ways that you would think about humans are people. It is within at least my definition of the word human that a human must be a person, or else it's not a human. So I don't need to give any more additional information than what is definitionally a part of the word. Another example would be all triangles have three sides. Part of the definition of triangle is that it has three sides, so we already know that. Cool. And that's a priori truth. Well, that's a priori statements. No, that's analytic statements. Sorry. I mean, analytic statements are also a priori, but then I'm getting ahead of myself. So, let's go on to synthetic. So, synthetic truths rely on both the meanings of the words that they are composed of and the state of the world. So, all trees are made of wood. So, it's not necessarily within the definition of tree that it's made of wood. You could have a Christmas tree, and that would not be, well, you could have a plastic Christmas tree, and that would not be made of wood. That's maybe not the best example. Let's see what might be a better example. Yeah. Let's think. These are such simple concepts, but whenever I try to think of an example, it just goes beyond me. So anyways, let's say all cell phones have touchscreens. It's not in the definition of cell phone that they have a touchscreen, and this sentence isn't even true because not all cell phones have touchscreens, but it is nonetheless a synthetic statement because it is not within the definition of the word cell phone that it has a touchscreen, because that's just not a necessary part of what cell phone means. So yeah, those weren't the best examples, but hopefully you get what I mean. Anyways, the final distinction is necessary truth versus contingent truth. So, necessary truths need to be true. They can't be false. There's nothing you can do to make them false. So that's a truth like 2 + 2 = 4. There's nothing you can do to make 2 + 2 not equal 4. It's necessarily true. Another one would be like a traditional analytic truth, like all triangles have 3 sides. There's nothing you can do to make triangles not have 3 sides. Triangles just have 3 sides. It's a part of what it is to be a triangle. It's necessarily true. And this is in contrast to contingent truths. A contingent truth would be something like, I am wearing headphones, to use an earlier example. I don't need to be wearing headphones. It's not necessarily true. I can take off my headphones. Like, now I am not wearing headphones. So that was only contingently true, because the situation could change, and suddenly it would not be true. Yeah. Another example would be, my eyes are gray. It might be true, and it might be true for my entire life, but it's not necessarily true. The world wouldn't fall apart if my eyes were suddenly not gray. It is not a part of the definition of what it is to be me that my eyes are gray. It's not a logical impossibility for my eyes to not be gray. Okay, let's keep going. So, one perspective on this would be from John Stuart Mill. Sorry, I'm getting out of myself. So now we're going to take these concepts, namely a priori versus a posteriori, analytic versus synthetic, and contingent versus necessary. We're going to take these and apply it to the field of mathematics, which is how we're tying this into sort of the philosophy of language, or just analytic philosophy generally, and Frege specifically. So, Mill, John Stuart Mill, he was an empiricist, which means that he thought all knowledge came from experience, and that a priori knowledge before experience, did not exist. Everything was a posteriori, and everything came from the world, so it was all synthetic. Nothing was necessarily analytic in definitions, because everything was coming from experience. So, on the topic of math, Mill would think, okay, so, because obviously everything comes from experience, I'm an empiricist. Math also comes from experience. We learn math because we see mathematical relations over and over again in our day-to-day lives. And they always come out true. So then we get math from that. So, this makes math, truth in mathematics, it makes it contingent. Because it doesn't need to be true, it could change. So that means that a statement like 2 + 2 = 4 is not actually a necessary truth, like I said earlier to Mill. Because everything's contingent, because everything's based on experience. So that's pretty wild. And that's kind of where radical empiricism gets you. But we'll save critiques of that for later, because it's probably a little bit, it sounds a little bit crazy, and it is a little bit crazy, but we're putting him there just for like a pin mark on one side of the issue. So now we're going to get to Kant, and then later we're going to get to Frege, and see how both of them interact with Mill and vice versa. We're just going to be comparing their three things. So let's move on to Kant. So Kant, unlike Mill, is not a hardline, crazy empiricist. So he allows for a priori knowledge. He created a system of what's called transcendental idealism, which is just, trying to unpack those words. It would take a while, but that's what it's called. It's good. It's good to know that's what it's called, I guess. Anyways, so, as we said earlier, analytic truths to Kant are a priori. And they are contained within the concept, so they are definitionally true. And then synthetic truths are everything that's not definitionally true. So, all humans are people, as I said earlier, is an analytic truth, because it is within the definition of being human to be a person. Whereas, all people are sometimes mean is a synthetic truth to Kant, because it is not within the definition of being a human that you are sometimes mean. Even though it might be true that all humans are sometimes mean, because we're not perfect. But is analytic and a priori, because it's definitionally true, and it's before experience. And then, all people are sometimes mean is synthetic and a posteriori, which means that it's synthetic, so it's not analytic, and it's a posteriori, so it's after experience, because we got that information from experience and not from definition. But Kant then does his famous thing and says, but wait, there's more. There's not just analytic a priori and synthetic a posteriori. I'm going to introduce a third category. It's going to be synthetic a priori. And this is probably one of, if not the biggest thing that Kant says, because it's pretty intuitively tempting to say that, okay, analytic equals a priori, synthetic equals a posteriori. But Kant's like, no. Synthetic does equal a posteriori, but it can also be a priori. Although analytic's always a priori, so Kant's not going off of that. Anyways, so a synthetic a priori statement to Kant defines the necessary conditions for conscious experience. So it's basically defining laws for conscious experience. So importantly to Kant, some of these examples of these synthetic a priori statements or truths are like that we experience everything through the lens of space and time. So what that means is that we can't experience anything outside of space and time. We must experience everything through the forms of space and time. Those are synthetic in that it's not definitional, that our experience must contain the forms of space and time, but they are a priori nonetheless, because we don't need to address anything. It's not contingent like anything we get from experience is. It can't change, even though it's not necessary. That's okay. I'm not explaining this well. We'll get to a better example later. Anyways, ignore that last little bit I just said. So, we cannot experience without these synthetic a priori truths, like space and time to Kant. So, one example that my professor gave, which is a very good example, is to think about this would be, so imagine that there's someone, your friend, and they're born with just a blue filter over their eyes. So, they just have these blue filters permanently attached to their eyes, and there's nothing that they can do to remove it, and everything that they see is now just colored blue because they have these blue filters over their eyes. So everything that your friend sees is now blue. And just because everything that your friend sees is blue, that doesn't mean that everything literally is blue. Everything isn't literally blue because you can see that there are all of these different colors, but your friend sees everything as blue. So what we have there most experience, everything is blue. But at the same time, it is not necessary that everything literally is blue. That things literally are blue, even though everything is experienced as blue. So it's a priori and synthetic. Does that make sense? I hope it does, because I think it's a good example, but maybe I'm not a good explainer. Anyways, so to Kant, Euclidean geometry, in the form of space and time, are kind of like those blue filters on us. Kant can't find a way to show that time and space are necessary truths for things literally. But Kant also can't see how we could see anything outside of the realms of space and time. So it seems like, just like your friend can only see blue, we can only see space and time, even though there's no reason it wouldn't be logically impossible for things in themselves to exist outside of space and time. And we might just have these space and time filters on our eyes, kind of. Does that make sense? Anyways, from this is where Kant gets math. So Kant thinks math is also a priori synthetic, and Kant thinks that the foundations of math come from basically adding over time. So like counting on your fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is happening in space. I am moving my fingers up. And it's happening over time because I start with 0. I go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that requires space and time. And that's also how Kant sort of derives mathematics. So, to Kant, mathematics is synthetic a priori. And to Mill, as we said earlier, because Mill is a hardline empiricist and believes everything is a posteriori, math is synthetic a posteriori. Now let's move on to Frege. I hope that you sort of get all of this. I know it's probably a little bit confusing. Kant is always a little bit confusing. I might need to make some videos just on Kant at some point, but let's not get too far ahead of myself. Anyways, Frege. We've talked about Frege before, although I think that if I'm making like a master playlist for the series, this is going to be one of the earlier videos because it sort of gives a foundation for some of the other ideas. So I'm just going to introduce Frege again. He's a math guy, he's a philosopher, and he's arguably the founder of the analytic school of philosophy, which is just one of the two major, very ill-defined schools or areas of philosophy. Not areas of philosophy, but like methods of philosophy. The other one's continental. I won't get into that today, but it exists. It's important. It doesn't. It's, yeah, whatever. It's pretty hard to define what the actual exact difference is between the two, and it's not really important for this video, but Frege is one of arguably the founders of the analytic school. So anyways, Frege was like, wow, Mill's crazy, but Kant is also kind of crazy. I don't really vibe with this whole synthetic a priori thing for math. I don't like that. I don't really want it. Synthetic a priori statements are kind of weird. I think that math is a priori analytic because I think that math can come from logic. So that was Frege's big thing. It certainly seems like it is. So that was Frege's really big goal. And then Bertrand Russell also got into that game. But that's a story for another time. Anyways, so towards this goal, my camera ran out of space to record. So we're back. Anyways, so Frege, he created a system of symbolic logic, which is a formalization of logic into an artificial language that can sort of escape the logical problems that expressing logic in normal language can lead to. So some examples of that would be something like a statement like, someone bounced the ball versus Lucy bounced the ball. So they seem very similar, given the grammatical structure of someone and Lucy both being singular subjects who bounced the ball. But they're actually very different. So if we try to make like a logical connection from both of those, we'll see that if I say, Lucy bounced the ball, Lucy is alive, therefore the person who bounced the ball is alive. That's true. But if I say, someone bounced the ball, someone is alive, therefore the person who bounced the ball is alive, that's pretty obviously false, because the someones could be different, right? Whereas the Lucy is the same, because Lucy is a name, and there's only one Lucy that I'm referring to. So, anyways, stuff like that. Symbolic logic makes a perfect, like, symbolic sort of mathy language to get past those misunderstandings, and Frege created the first symbolic language that really unified logic. Anyways, that's a topic for another day. It was called, he made the system of logic in what was called his Begriffsschrift, which was just this piece that he wrote sort of about his symbolic language for logic. Anyways, yeah, he wanted to turn logic into math because he wanted math to be absolutely true. And towards that end, he wrote what's called the groundwork for mathematics, I guess. In German, it's Die Grundlagen der Arithmetik. So, anyways, the foundations of arithmetic are groundwork for arithmetic. Anyways, he mostly agrees with Kant on what analytic and synthetic means, but he wants math to be analytic, not synthetic. So, for Frege, what analytic means is that it is contradictory to say otherwise. So it's basically the same, but like a little bit different, a little bit more logic-y rather than relying on definitions of words, but gets to the same endpoint. It is contradictory to say that triangles do not have three sides. It is contradictory to say that humans aren't people, etc. Anyways, he also disagrees with Kant a little bit on geometry and stuff, because so Kant came from a time when all we had was Euclidean geometry, which is the kind of geometry that you learn in school, where like the three sides of it, the three angles of a triangle always add up to 180, etc. So Kant was like, oh yeah, space, that's totally Euclidean geometry. Everything's Euclidean geometry. Turns out that by Frege's time, and continuing to now, there are other forms of geometry. So, unlike Kant, Frege said, okay, difference. And it's also one of the interesting places where Kant is wrong, because he just didn't realize that non-Euclidean geometries could exist. That's maybe, yeah, I don't know. It's, a lot of people don't know about non-Euclidean geometries, so I'm hoping that this is not super confusing. But basically, there are other forms of geometry which don't share some of the bases of Euclidean geometry, but it's not really important for this video. I don't know why I went on this huge tangent. Anyways, and then arithmetic and logic are totally analytic to Frege, because he wants them to be absolutely true, and he wants it to be impossible for them to be false. And Frege thinks that math is reducible to logic, as I said earlier, and that's what he said to prove out. Set out to prove. Set to prove out. Anyways, he also points out a bunch of flaws with Mill's empiricist view about math being justified by experience. So namely, that math, if it's from experience, then like 1 equals 1, as we said earlier, is contingent, which is just so obviously false. So that's like the first thing that Frege called into question. Like, if we saw that 1 equals 2 a bunch of times in our experience, so like let's say we were playing with marbles, and then we did, okay, let's put 1 marble together and 1 marble together. Let's see how many marbles we get at the end. And we kept getting 3 marbles at the end. We would be like, yo, what the heck's going on with these marbles? Is my friend sneaking a marble in while I'm not looking? Or am I going insane? We wouldn't be like, oh, okay, I see. I guess I was wrong. 1 plus 1 isn't 2, it's 3. Silly me. No. We would be like, 1 plus 1 is 2. Something's fishy here. I don't know what's up. So, anyways, yeah, that's one critique. He also says, one of Mill's big claims is like, okay, so you wouldn't know math if it weren't for being taught and seeing these relations play out in the real world. So like, seeing that when I put 2 marbles together, I get 2 instead of 3. Like, you wouldn't learn math without that. And Frege's like, okay, maybe that's true. Maybe I wouldn't learn math unless I saw math in the real world. But just because I learned something from the real world doesn't mean that its justifications are within the real world. So like, what he means by that is that there are a bunch of things that I theoretically could prove as true using only a priori truth, like math, but I might never realize them unless I see things in my experience a posteriori that lead me to think about those. So like, I might never learn math if I don't see marbles going together, but once I see the marbles going together, I can prove math is true only in my head, and I don't need to use experience for that at all. So that's another thing. And then another big point in Mill's writing on math is like, okay, so we can prove that 1 equals 1 is contingent, because if we look in the real world, we see that 1 brick does not equal 1 feather. Duh. So like 1 does not equal 1. And then Frege is like, okay, Mel, you do realize there's a difference between theoretical mathematics and applied mathematics. So what you're talking about is applied mathematics, where sort of these types of inequalities do exist because you're applying a theoretical concept from the mind to the real world. And when we're talking about 1 equaling 1, we're talking about the mind math, the a priori math. We're not talking about real things. And then another thing that he said to Mill would be like, hey Mill, where do you see 0 in normal experience? Point to me where the stack of 0 marbles is. Because there is no physical object that shows 0, because 0 just is non-existence. So it seems pretty hard to see how someone would get a concept of 0 from experience. And then the final thing would be, Mill, how do you sort of think about like the number 250,000? Do you think anybody's seen 250,000 marbles? No, nobody's seen 250,000 marbles, because it's just like nobody's seen these. This is a result of us bringing the system into our mind, and the fact that it's a priori to Frege. We wouldn't be able to get these huge numbers if everything were purely founded on a posteriori bases, like Mill said. Anyways, so that's basically about it. Frege wanted to make logic and math equal, and Frege, at least, would eventually fail on this. But explaining that is probably for another video. Anyways, I apologize that this video is a little bit messy. I'm recording in a new space and it's kind of janky, and it's also been a while since I've done this, so I hope everything comes out okay. Feel free to let me know if there's anything that you would want fixed or something. I'm really looking forward to doing a series on ethics, so I hope that I can get down to business with that and actually produce it. Anyways, thank y'all for all of your support, and I look forward to seeing you again. It's been really heartwarming to read all of your comments, and I don't know, I just really like doing this and teaching people. I don't know if I'm the best teacher, but it's definitely a good exercise, even if it's just to help myself understand philosophy better. Have a good day, have a good night, be safe during this time of self-isolation, and feel free to let me know if there's anything you're interested in. Bye bye bye, bye bye bye. See ya.